Jeez. I said 12 points to improve your listing presentation and one person left. I tell you, what are you going to do? So some of the stuff we've gone over, some of this might be new. Some of this might be, you've heard it before, but this is a different angle, so on and so forth. So, but yeah, I'm going through my notes here, and we talk about listing property. 3:30 Thursdays is all about listing property, and we talk about, the mindset and, different things to do in regards to listing property. And so some of this stuff starts to become a little bit repetitive, but I wrote down here before we even get started on this, if it's repetitive, that's good. Okay, that's good, because you're starting to pick up little things like, aha, he said it this way on this day. He kind of said the same thing, but he said it a different way this day. And when he was talking about this, that came up again, starting to see the trends of 2 or 3 different things. So the repetitive thing, don't look at it as like, well, yeah, that 0.4 you've mentioned before. Yeah, I get it. But sometimes repetitive stuff can be good. Okay. So I wrote that down to start here. But some of this is different. Some of this, again, Mike Ferry has taught years and years for years that sometimes it's just one day you hear things differently, or one day you don't hear something, and then one day you do. So it just happens sometimes. What are you going to do? Because as I was going through these 12 points, I was like, yeah, I know some 2 or 3 of these have come up on a few different things. So it just kind of give you an idea on how that goes. But let's jump into this. 12 things I wrote down here to improve your listing presentation and listing property. As always, this is just a list as it's written. They're not written in order of what I think is important or anything along those lines. You decide what's important to you, but this is just how it was written. So the first thing I wrote down here is they give the listing, generally speaking, to the person that earns it, not the person that needs it. Okay. Now this is a mindset, right? They give the listing, generally speaking, to the person that earns it, not the person that needs it. It happens because of skills. So you have to go in with the mindset that I can't be desperate. I can't have commission breath. I can't tell a story of, that I need the sympathy. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going in there begging saying, oh my gosh, I need this so bad. But what you do sometimes, maybe not you, but what people do sometimes is they drop little hints of, I need this, yeah, well, no, think, they drop little hints of, yeah, my wife's expecting twins, man. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be an adjustment, but I'm sure we'll be okay. It's like little things like that, dropping little stuff along those lines. Yeah, COVID's been tough. This, blah, 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 blah. Little things to show like, yeah, I kind of need this. Most of the time, almost all the time, that usually puts people off more than gets them like, oh, wow, I feel bad for this person. Okay. Because you have to understand, the higher the level of money, the less the people care about personal problems. So, give you an example. You're a homeless person on a street can get somebody to give them $1 because it's just $1. Begging, I need the money, I need the money. You might be able to get $1. But a homeless person begging on the street, I need the money, I need the money, isn't going to get $100, because the level of the money's too high to where my caring for this homeless person is no longer relevant enough for 100. It's the same concept with listing property. We're now $600, $700 million. Their personal care for what you have going on, for the troubles you have going on, is so low because the dollar amount is so high. So don't make it about you or the tough times you've had or the problems you got going on. They're going to give this 100% to the person that earns it, that gives them the skills, necessary, that gives them attention necessary, that pays attention the most. Okay, that's the person that's going to get the listing. So you have to be very careful about that, to not make it too much about you if you're going through some times, to make it seem like this is a really important listing. Okay. So I put that down as point number 1, as part of a mindset thing in regards to the listing presentation. So now I will tell you though, I told you that, you'll give the homeless person $1, but you won't give them 100. Sober. Okay, sober, you won't do that, because I've had people intoxicated not knowingly give homeless people $50. That's a true story. That's a true story. Oh, fun times in the 20s. All right, good stuff. Okay, the second thing I wrote down here. To improve your listing presentation, record a couple of live listing presentations as a way to check your skills. Record a couple live listing presentations, not the role play. Keep doing the role play, right? Keep doing the role play, record the role play. But if you really want to take it to the next level, record a live listing presentation and just simply tell the seller that's what you're going to do. Well, don't tell them, ask them. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm always trying to work on my presentation. I'm always trying to get better time and time again. Would you mind if I recorded this listing presentation? And if they don't have to be recorded, you don't have to record them. They don't have to be on camera. Just record yourself. I mean, it happens all the time. You ever try to call customer service of any company? This call may be recorded for training and quality purposes. So your stuff's getting recorded all the time. Hell, I'm pretty convinced my phone is recording me all the time anyways. Okay. Is it just me, or when you talk about something, even when your phone's not on and you go to social media, that's the ad? Okay. We could right now be talking about, you know what? I'll just say this. Vacation to Europe, vacation to Europe, vacation to Europe. I'll bet you if I were to go to my Instagram, there would be an ad for vacationing to Europe. So, we're getting recorded all the time, people. Record a presentation. The reason that's a little bit more advanced than a role play is because even if you treat your role play at the highest level, which most of you don't, I'm not being mean, that's just true. Okay. At the highest level necessary, it's still not the same adrenaline or nerves as a live listing presentation. So record them and then let's watch them. We'll watch them together. And if you think nobody does this, not a lot of people do it, but some people do. I've gotten a few live listing presentations. I've gotten one. I think I told you this before, that I gave this homework to Jack Ma, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago, and he did it. He recorded a live listing presentation. It was in Chinese. So I couldn't really help him too much, but he did it. So I got to give him credit. So record a couple live listing presentations is a way to check your skills. Okay, it's the only way to know how your nerves are working in a real life situation. Okay, I wrote down here number 3. Listen to the prospect with the intent to understand what they're saying versus listening so you can respond quickly. Okay, I'm going to say it again. Listen to the prospect with the intent to understand what they're saying versus listening so you can respond quickly. This seems like an obvious one, but it was so funny because I had written these notes last week when I was putting together the calendar, and then on a coaching call this week, I forget if it was yesterday or Tuesday, someone brought this up to me. They had gotten a couple listings, and I was like, hey, so what's one of the things you've been working on? And they said to this point that they were listening with the intent to understand rather than so they can respond quickly. So what I mean by that is sometimes you're really just listening to know when you can get to the next point. Okay. So for example, you're going through the comps, you know, and have you seen this property, blah, 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 all these other different things. They're answering, and you're really just trying to get to the bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, days on market. This one's a little bit better than yours, blah, blah, blah. You're just really trying to get to the next point so you can get to the end of asking for the close. What you missed is, instead of listening with the intent to understand, is them saying, yeah, I've actually been to this property, and I remember, and they start going into details of what they saw about this property and what they think of it. And you're not really listening to the intent of understanding why they're telling you they've been in this property. There's something important. You're just trying to, okay, yeah, I got it. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms? Okay, they're telling you about the price. Okay, well, why do you think your home is worth $30,000 more than your neighbors? And they're telling you, but you're not listening with the intent to understand where they got the information. You're just listening so you can say, well, every home needs a tile, right? Every home needs flooring. There's a difference with the listening with the intent to understand versus the listening so you can respond quickly. Okay? It's not, you have to be fast, you have to be quick, but it's not always responding quickly is the best answer. It's understanding. And if you really want to test your mettle to this, ask yourself, are you repeating, because we're repeat and affirm what they say. Are you repeating exactly the way they said it or exactly the way you have it written? So, give you an example. They say, well, you know what? I'd like to go over that listing agreement one more time. Do you say, okay, great. Well, if we can agree on the agreement, would you sign the contract? Or do you say, okay, so if we can agree on the contract, would you sign the contract, or the length of contract? Would you sign it with me today? They didn't say length of contract. They said the agreement. See, if you're not repeating it exactly the way they say it, you're just listening to respond quickly, not listening with the intent to understand. So it's a little hard to explain, but when you get it, you get it. Okay, but that's part of the process. But it's hard to explain, but the client picks up on it, because you would do the same thing. You know examples of people that are just going through the motions and they're not actually listening to you. All right, I wrote down here number 4. Sellers want to hire an agent who displays confidence. Sellers want to hire an agent who displays confidence. And confidence comes from knowing what to say to a seller. Sellers want to hire an agent who displays confidence, and confidence comes from knowing what to say to a seller. They do not want an unconfident agent. Okay, yeah, it's confidence. But if you don't know what to say, you're not going to have the confidence. It's just a reality. I mean, think about it from this perspective. If I said to you, what's the square root of 1,226,432? What's the square root of that? Confidently, you're not going to know. So you're going to go, or you're going to just say some smart ass answer. I don't know, 225. All right. There's no confidence there because you don't know what to say, because you don't know the answer. So confidence comes from knowing. And use 25.4. I would have to go, holy crap, I don't know, is that right? I have no idea. Because you knew the answer, so your confidence was there. And so that's where it comes through, of knowing what to say and how to say it. So you really have to practice knowing what to say, okay? Because it's all about the confidence. The biggest example I can give you of this, and we talk about this all the time, and it was so funny because Neil brought this up the other day as well, and someone else brought it up, so you're getting it from all other different angles, is when somebody asks you a question, what's the first word out of your mouth? And if you say then you don't have confidence, and the seller knows you don't have confidence in whatever you're going to say next. You think now's a good time to list my property? Instantly the seller's like, I don't care what you say next. you can ramble on you can give me whatever you want. Lost it. They want an agent who displays confidence. Confidence knows knowing what to say to a seller. Okay. Now, the beauty of our business is that you really have no excuse to ever be caught off guard, because hardly ever is a seller going to give you some sort of statement that's really like, well, that's interesting. I actually don't know the answer to that question. It's very rarely ever going to happen. Okay. So you shouldn't be caught off guard. All right. I wrote down here, number 5, first impressions are critical on a listing presentation. First impressions are critical on a listing presentation. So first impressions, groomed, your clothes, your shoes. Are you smiling? Are you on time? These are all parts of a first impression. Easiest stuff, man. Easy stuff that people screw up all the time. Not just in real estate, in life. In just life. Like, imagine you were going on a blind date. You're waiting at the coffee shop. You were supposed to be there at 3:30. In comes your blind date at 3:48, 18 minutes late. They're coming in, wrinkled shirt, shoes scuffed up, look dirty. Okay. Just walks in, no smile on their face. How's that date gonna go? How's that date gonna go? Oh, Robert, we shouldn't judge people. Get over it. Get over it. You judge people all the time. They judge you. That's life. Okay. First impressions are critical. You would not go out with that person again, likely. Okay. Unless they really knocked your socks off with their vocabulary or their charisma or something like that. Listings are the same thing. Punctuality. We talk about the 5-step listing process. Number 4, show up 15 minutes early, not at the door, but show up in the area 15 minutes early so you can check the neighborhood, check the for sale by owners. If nothing else, you're sitting in your car. Maybe it's air conditioned, so you're cool. So you're not running up to the house sweating like crazy. Make sure if you're a male, your tie is right? Everyone's all good. Your clothes are ready. For me, there'd be no dog hair, things like that. You don't have, something sticking in your teeth from lunch. You're just prepared. It's punctuality. Groomed again. People think you have to have like $1 million suits, Armani, these crazy. You don't need any of that. You don't need the Jimmy Choos. You don't need all these other crazy things for that. When I'm talking about groomed is, are your clothes ironed or are they wrinkled? Things along those lines. If you have to shave, are you actually groomed, or you got the neck beard and all this going on? Are you actually groomed a little bit, hair combed? Things along those lines. The clothes you wear, do they got stains on them? Are they raggedy? Are you actually dressed to impress, or are you in there with, it's a Saturday. It's 95 degrees outside. I'm just going to wear some, shorts and a nice t-shirt. Not going to happen. No way. So it's all about that first impression. And if nothing else, you have to smile. For God's sakes, nobody wants to list with a Nazi. Somebody just walks in the house, you gotta smile. Goodness gracious. First impressions are critical on a listing. I wrote down here, the less judgments made at the first impression, the better chance you have. Okay. And then I also wrote down, if you can't create a good first impression, your chances of getting that listing go down 50%. If you can't create a good first impression, your chances of getting that listing go down 50%. There's no excuse for that because creating a good first impression requires no skill whatsoever. You know, you have to know a skill of what to say and how to present and all this. A first impression requires no skill whatsoever. So you have no excuse for that one. All right, number 6, I wrote down here, stop talking. You want to generate more, win more of your listing presentations. Stop talking. We talk too much. The problem with talking too much, okay, unless you're really engaging, you're boring the client. Remember when Bernie Gallerini, you might not remember this, Bernie Gallerini, who was being interviewed by us, I was watching his thing the other day, rewatching it, probably the second, third, or fourth time I've watched it. And he was talking about the first listing presentation he ever went on. Now, mind you, this is a guy that now has a team, and his team's going to do about 7 million in volume this year out in Tennessee. But fast forward to his very first listing presentation, the guy said, what was the word? He said, your wife just must be numb. And Bernie's like, what do you mean? He goes, all you do is talk and talk and talk. And at this point, Bernie had already been at the house for like 2 hours, you know, and he's just talking and talking and talking and talking, you know. So you're either going to bore the client, okay, or number 2, you're going to annoy them for being there too long. But number 3 is that the more you talk, it's less listening. So you're not really servicing the client's needs. They want to talk about their house, their goals, their money, their. Your job is just to answer the question, show them what you can do to help them, and get the hell out of there. You're not being paid by the amount of words you say. You're getting paid by the amount of contracts you sign. Stop talking. All right, I wrote down here next. Remember that energy and enthusiasm make logical people emotional. Energy and enthusiasm make logical people emotional. And I wrote down underneath this, whether buying or selling, there is some emotion. Somebody's buying a house, there's high emotion. Whether somebody's selling the house, there's high emotion. It is an emotional transaction. Energy and enthusiasm make logical people emotional, and you have to create emotion. But you can't create that if you don't have energy, you don't have enthusiasm, you're not creating some sort of excitement. So you need to have that. Now, I'm not telling you, I tell you all this all the time. You don't have to be me. Okay, you don't have to be me, but yeah, you have to be exciting. You have to be energetic. That's how you get the emotion out. We say that, I say this all the time. Best example, the greatest example of all time of energy and enthusiasm making logical people emotional is Tony Robbins. What do I mean by that? Tony Robbins gets people for no reason whatsoever to take off their shoes and socks and walk across hot coals. They don't get money. They don't get it's not like The Price is Right where they get like a vacation at the end or a new car. They don't get any of that. They get the emotional experience. But he does it by being enthusiastic and energetic to make people emotional, because a logical person is standing on one end with their shoes and socks on and hot coals and going, why would God's name would I take my shoes and socks off and walk across that? That makes no sense whatsoever. And if he had no energy, enthusiasm, and he said, well, you know, if you walk across these hot coals, it's going to be, you know, you're really showing life that you're in control, and, you know, it'll be a totally emotional and spiritual experience for you. You think that person's going to go, okay? No, they're never going to walk across those hot coals. But they're logical, but now they're logical. They're looking at these hot coals going, why would I take my shoes and socks off? And here comes Tony Robbins, and he's going, because let me tell you something. This is what's going to happen. You're going to show life that you're in control, and it's your life, and you're going to take it, and this is going to be a spiritual, and it goes with this whole thing, and it's all this emotion and energy, and these people go, okay, and they take off their shoes and socks, and they walk across the hot coals. Energy and enthusiasm makes logical people emotional. A logical person is not taking off their shoes and socks and walking across hot coals. Unless you're Tony Robbins giving the energy, enthusiasm to tell them that this is a life-changing experience. It's the same thing with buying and selling real estate. I don't know. Should I take this offer? I don't know. I mean, I would think about signing with you, but I do have a friend in the business. I don't know. Do we really want to list at that price? I don't know. Is a 6-month contract really necessary? Blah, 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 blah. They're thinking logically. You have to have the energy, enthusiasm to get the motion out. And that's where you win. That's where you win. Right? Energy, enthusiasm make logical people emotional. All right, I wrote down here, a poorly scripted listing presentation. Okay, this is a long one, so I'm going to repeat it a couple times. A poorly scripted listing presentation delivered with a lot of energy and enthusiasm can still win. A poorly scripted listing presentation delivered with a lot of energy and enthusiasm can still win. A well-practiced, highly scripted presentation delivered with energy and enthusiasm wins all the time. A well-practiced, highly scripted presentation delivered with energy and enthusiasm wins all the time. So the point is, if you don't know your listing presentation, you don't know the script, but you just go in there with energy and enthusiasm, you can still win sometimes. You won't win all the time, might not win a lot, but you could still win if you don't know it. And I can give you example after example of people that do get listings that don't do great listing presentations, but they have so much energy, enthusiasm, they win. But if you really want to take it to the next level and you take that energy, enthusiasm, and then you combine with a well-practiced and highly scripted presentation, that's when you get to winning all the time. That's when you get to the 80 to 90%. That's when you're in the Karen Bernardi conversations of, getting 90% of the listings you go on. So you just have to decide what level of a listing presenter do you want to be? Do you want to be I'll take a win every now and then? Great. Don't worry about working on the listing presentation. Just do a lot of energy and enthusiasm. But if you want to win more often, then you have to have the scripts and the energy and enthusiasm. Do you notice how I said a well-scripted presentation with no energy and enthusiasm? I didn't even go down that route. Don't do it, man. Don't do it. All right, I wrote down here next. Remember, it's showtime. It's showtime. This is your stage. This is your chance to be a performer. I joked with the admin in the offices. When we started opening up the offices 6 or 7 months ago, because we shut down for COVID, we shut down the offices for a few months. And then we allowed the agents to come back in the office, but you obviously had to get your temperature checked and things along those lines. You had to sign the waivers to come back, all those things. I told the admin, this is your one chance in life to be a bodyguard, or not a bodyguard, a bouncer. This is your chance. If you've ever been to a club and you see the bouncer checking the IDs and throwing people out and all this, this is your shot, because if they come in, temperature's not there, nope, you gotta go. This was their chance. Well, this is your chance. A listing presentation is your chance to be a performer, to be that actor, that actress, that stage performer. you know, that you've always wanted to be, that you always thought you could be. Oh, that would be really neat. This is it. It's showtime. You're going to get dressed up for the part. You got your script, because every great performer, they have a script. They're not winging it. Okay. You got dressed up, you got your script, right? You drive over to the auditorium, which is essentially the seller's house. You walk in, and that front door is open curtains. And there's your audience. Now, it might not be the biggest audience that you were hoping for. You know, you're not selling out Madison Square Garden, but what are you going to do? Okay. But you have an audience, and this is your time to be a performer. This is your stage. Go out there and give a performance of a lifetime. This is your shot. Go do it. Okay. Now, don't get into like really crazy monologues. You know, super dramatic, you know, Shakespearean type stuff. But you get my point. Have some fun with it. What are you going to do? All right. But it's showtime. Be a performer. Give a great presentation. All right. 3 more points. I wrote down here, when a presentation goes over 30 minutes, you've shifted from selling to telling. When a presentation goes over 30 minutes, you've shifted from selling to telling. Now, the only time it should go that long is if they're asking a lot of questions. But your part of the presentation, if they're not asking questions, you should be done. There's really nothing else for you to talk about unless they have questions. Now you're just in telling form. And the more you tell, you think after 30 minutes, I'm going to tell, that's going to get me closer. Actually, it's the opposite. If after 30 minutes, you're telling, trying to get the sell, actually that telling is getting you farther away. You've shifted from selling to telling. Stop telling. This goes back up to what we talked about earlier in the stop talking part. Okay. So you have to be mindful of that. And I bring this point up. Here's why I bring this point up. Is because sometimes I get this with people is it seems like the presentation's over too quickly. You know, if I follow the Mike Ferry presentation, it's over too quickly. That's it. You know, don't I have to do more and say more and show more? No. Any other questions? See, I know my scripts. It can be that quickly. It could be a 1-minute presentation. It could be a 15-minute presentation. Now, on average, it's not. Usually it takes 30 minutes or so. But unless they're asking you a lot of questions and you're going into some serious detail, after 30 minutes, it's gone from selling to telling. All right, last 2 points here. I wrote down, a motivated seller wants an aggressive agent who takes charge. It's again, long one. I'll repeat a couple times. A motivated seller wants an aggressive agent who takes charge, understands the process of selling the house, and tells them the truth. A motivated seller wants an aggressive agent who takes charge, understands the process of selling the house, and tells them the truth. So here's an example of an aggressive versus a non-aggressive agent. Well, one of the things that we can do is we can, host an open house. One of the things we can do is, we can go around and tell your neighbors about the listing. I know you can. Will you? So the difference between that, so an aggressive agent is, well, here's one of the things that I'm going to do is right away, I'm going to get on my phone, and there's going to be 200 of your neighbors are going to know about your listing. One of the things I'm going to do, not one of the things we can do. Well, if you'd like it, we could do this. Well, one of the things I'm considering, that we do sometimes to get homes sold, that's not an aggressive agent. I want an aggressive agent who takes charge. This is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to work. This is when I'm going to show you offers. This is when we're going to do an open house. If we're going to do an open house. Not this can, we might, if you're interested. This is what we're going to do. They want some aggressive agent who takes charge, understands the process of selling the home. Step 1 is we're going to do this. And then step 2 is this. And step 3 is this. Boom, 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 boom. Not someone who's great. I can't wait to get your home listed and then we'll just see what happens. Wait. It's cringe. And tells them the truth. Now, look, I understand that sometimes we don't know what we can get for the house realistically, but you know what you can't. Okay. I know sometimes it's, well, geez, Robert, I mean, these homes are still selling for, crazy prices. Yeah. Okay. So maybe you don't know what you can get for it, but you know what you can't. You know that 850 house, maybe you can, who knows? Could you get 875? Maybe. You know you can't get 950. So don't tell them you can. Well, let's go ahead and list it for 950, and then I think we have a shot at it. And if we don't, we'll adjust. No. If you want to take the listing, just take the listing, but at least be honest with them. Look, I'll take the listing at 950. I don't think it's going to sell at 950. Okay, there's nothing supporting it. I'm going to do my damnedest to sell it because I get paid more if it sells for 950, but I'm just being honest with you. I also wrote down here on telling the truth. Make sure you review your plan of action and that you're actually going to do these steps in your plan of action. Because I feel like sometimes people just send in that plan of action. That could be like a Mike Ferry plan of action or the Century 21 plan of action or that one that we created here a while ago. And they just put that in there. And I don't think they really review what it is. How do I know? Because some of you say that you're going to do Matterport on there and you don't, all of you. Some of you have still put on there that you're going to do open houses, and we just started being able to do open houses, and you've had that in your plan of action for the last year. Some of you still have the old Mike Ferry one that says you're going to fax a the information sheet to the top agents in town. Like, I know you're not doing that. So part of telling them to review your plan of action and make sure you're actually going to do the items on there. Okay. Aggressive agent who takes charge, understands the process, and tells them the truth. Okay. I understand the truth can be hard sometimes because other agents are not telling them the truth, but you gotta have ethics, you gotta have morals, and just is what it is. All right. And the last note I put down here is maintain the attitude that you're not leaving without a signed contract. Maintain the attitude that you're not leaving without a signed contract. I'll be honest with you. It drives me nuts. Drives me absolutely bonkers when agents go, well, I'm going over to the house, we'll see what happens. I mean, I might not even bring a contract. And I get this. I really do get this. And it drives me freaking crazy. I don't know if it's really a listing appointment. I don't know if they're really ready to sign. Like, that drives me crazy. It just does. Like, you're going on a listing appointment, bring a contract, and your only mission is to get a contract signed. Now, you should be able to identify in the pre-qualifying if it's a real listing appointment or if you're just going on a visit. I'm not saying don't go on a visit if you know that they're not going to list right now, but you want to go just meet a client or a lead face-to-face, then go meet them face-to-face. But some of you have listing appointments, but you don't, well, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. You're only there to get a contract signed. You have to maintain that mindset. It drives me nuts. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. Robert, I don't know if this is a listing presentation. What do you think? Well, tell me about it. Well, the seller says they want to sell. That's a good sign. I'm just throwing that out there. It's a good sign. But they're not sure if they want what they want to price it for. And, they do know somebody else who's in the business and they're going to interview them. So I don't know. Is this a listing appointment? Yeah, it's a listing appointment. You should only be going there to get a contract signed. This is not for fun. Got to really shift that mindset. that you're not leaving without a signed contract. Now, don't do anything illegal. It's going to get you thrown in jail. Okay, don't like lock the doors and hold them hostage. But the point is, you're going there with a signed contract. So when they say, well, we want to think about it, don't just go, okay, no problem. Look, I would think about it too. Then just walk away. No, I'm here. You're going to have to drag me out of here because I know that the chances of me getting that listing contract signed by trying to get a second appointment is very low. This is my shot. It's my shot at it. I got to get the contract signed. Maintain the attitude that you're not leaving without a contract signed. Handle the objections. Since 2 heads are better than 1, since 3 heads are better than 2, since 4 heads are better than 3, since whatever heads are better than how many heads. Let's think out loud together. Tell me, what are you thinking about? We'd like you to cut your commission. No. Any other questions? Boom, boom, boom. Keep going, keep going, keep going. We want to sleep on it. It's great. Since 3 minds are better than 2. Let's think out loud together. What are you thinking about it? Great. Since 2 prayers are better than 1, let's pray out loud together. Tell me about. I'm not above doing things like that. I'm trying to get a listing. Got to get the contract signed. All right, so look, that was 12 different points I wrote down here on how to improve your listing presentation, get more listings signed. Again, some of this stuff you've heard before, but maybe there was something here you haven't heard before, or maybe you have heard before, it's just coming at you from a different angle, or you're just in a different space today, that this is actually making some sense. So hopefully there was 1 or 2 things in there. All right, everybody, that's all I got. Good stuff. Way to go. Let's keep rocking and rolling. We got still some time here in the afternoon. If anyone wants to do some prospecting, you can do that.